have that possible first pick. The problem is that Vardags is by no means the carry for Unicorns of Love, and it's also one of the reasons Unicorns struggle in the early game.
Yeah.
First picking him with Alistar might not have the same value as for other teams, so therefore they ban it away because they know Niels is going to take it. And the problem for Unicorns is they've simply been lacking carries. PowerOfEvil has been the main force, but he's not always had the greatest performances. And that's a problem because Vardags is not the guy to step up in the early game and take it.
Yeah, and Gragas has been banned out. Rek'Sai remains as the sole tier 1 jungler. I'm still wondering what other tier 1 picks are up that we're missing.
Loads.
We've seen Alistar up a lot, but then again you can match that with the Janna for disengage and a whole lot of poke champions left, so we might actually just see that Rek'Sai come out, and I think that would be a fine choice.
I just feel like overall as well, there's such a massive pool now of what a lot of different teams consider the tier 1 champions in different roles. Ekko obviously still there in the jungle role, if Amazing wants it now that Gragas and Rek'Sai is gone. We've seen Ryze top lane. I mean, there's so many different ones. Alistar, obviously AD carry's gone. That's the key one. Corki then should come in from Origen.
Ryze did get changed a little bit right now, so not as prevalent and can easily get shut down in my opinion in lane swap as teams get more comfortable playing against the champion. I do like what you said there with the Corki because he adds a magic damage component in the bot lane, facilitating just normal lanes with a good early game power spike as well as poke later on. But it looks like Origen, they don't want to wait for the poke.
No, and this is the thing again. We have so many power picks in each role that it's so tough when you start having these target bans coming in. In this case here, you know, Jayce was open, Alistar, we know Corki, we know Janna is a very contested pick as well. But obviously Origen saying we don't need to go heavy disengage at first. I mean, Alistar can still perform that role and just wants that Jayce for most likely pick in the mid lane.
Yeah, I think the Alistar pick early up is it's just so valuable. We've seen what teams have been able to do on it just today in some of these situations. For Unicorns, we don't like to talk about hovers too often, but they definitely have to find some of that magic that they were missing.
I would have liked to see a Janna pick over Alistar here, Deficio. I don't know what your opinion is, but if you're going to run Jayce Janna already, you can buff up that poke, and Janna is just good against Alistar hard engages. You just reset the fight.
I'd almost just gone Jayce Corki in my first rotation, honestly, and then if they took away Janna on the other side, I would take Alistar, say fair enough, that's okay. I didn't really feel like there was a reason to take that Alistar here, but I think teams are still putting so much value on him because again he adds so much to these big team fights, more than just the disengage tool for them, but obviously Corki have been taken away by Unicorns.
But we've seen the Braum picked up here, and this is the first Braum I believe in the LCS, if my memory serves me right, maybe the second. Very few Braum picks all around, and I kind of like playing it into Alistar because Braum usually is weak against ranged supports, but he can definitely punish that lane a tiny bit. And he's obviously good at soaking up the poke. He can throw himself in front of that Jayce Shock Blast and put up his E and deny that one poke. It still explodes around him, so don't get too close to your Braum, but could be an option.
Does add a little bit of more appeal as well coming in for Unicorns. Now they have that Corki, so they have some poke themselves. Origen though, explosive for them and clearly going away from the poke composition from them. Like after Corki was taken away, switching it up completely.
It looks like they just baited UOL in, like, hey guys, we're playing poke metagame. Nope, not at all, because finishing that up with a Vayne and Ekko is so skirmish heavy, in addition to the Alistar, who kind of likes skirmishing as well.
And still some flex picks as well. I mean, Ekko can go jungle, can go top, Jayce can go top and mid lane for them, so not showing everything yet, but obviously very skirmish and push focus, the 1-3-1 setup we're expecting. Lacking, in my opinion, some safe wave clear in that sense, but as long as you don't fall behind, it shouldn't matter at all.
It can be a bit of a risk, but we know Origen has been experimenting lately. They haven't really yet been punished for it. And again, you know, they're in a position where they can't afford to do this against the Unicorns, who they themselves are having a little bit of trouble. Looks like they will lock the Ryze in and the Varus. Let's see if that's going to be enough for Chachi.
Now the Unicorns are the first team, obviously since they're on blue side, to finish their composition here, and it's what we said in the early game, in the A block coming in. Double damage with a carry top laner to facilitate that. They have poke, AD, and mid. They have mixed damage in the bot lane with AP poke, so they finish that up with some more AP damage. Usually I like a rumble here, but because the lineup on Origen side is relatively mobile skirmish heavy, I kind of like the repetitive snares coming out later from the Ryze in these fights, if they can survive, if they don't get snowballed on, because then it is Origen's game to take. But overall, I like the Unicorns' composition.
For me, again, composition-wise, I like it if there's no tags on it, if we didn't know what the teams were, but because Unicorns have struggled so much in that early to mid-game, we're going to have to see a complete different team show up. If they can, however, we just talked about how Origen, it is a composition that can get snowballed on very heavily. Corki, Varus together is fantastic mid-game. Let's see where the center members looks like Ekko top and Jayce mid.
There we go. And of course, with the Lee Sin lock-in for Origen, of a bit of a bridge to try and get to that later stages of the game, see if that can work out for them.
Yeah, complete different style here. Origen opening up with the early Jayce, indicating a potential poke comp. We wondered why they didn't pick the Janna. It's because they're not going poke at all. They're going skirmish heavy. Tier 1 jungler on the side of the Unicorns. Traded for an aggressive Lee Sin. Amazing. He can play Lee Sin, but they'll have to make something happen in the early game.
Skirmish and then also roaming from Amazing and Mithy together. These two guys have so much synergy. Same can be said for Hylissang and Kikis, of course, but Origen here looking to set up so many possible tower dives with a Lee Sin Alistar combo. As long as you have 3 lanes pushing in, there's so many options for Origen how they want to play that. But it's Unicorns, 15 minutes. That's where they got to start turning on the power. If they fail that power spike, they might just be forced to sit and try and defend in 1-3-1s for the rest of the game, and that won't work well for them.
That is a nightmare scenario for the Unicorns here. They are, however, going back to some roots. Shachi back on the Ryze. Last time he played a carry champion, of course, was that. But that's all for us now. With the Rift ready and the lineups locked, it's time to load up for our game of the week. It's UOL and Origen.
LCS. I didn't know much about him. I knew him because he was hype.
It is stolen! PowerOfEvil!
Actually, I did not look up to him most of the time. Even now, I would call him the top 3 mid laner, but I would never say he was like the best,
And there we go. The hype commences. The little bit of banter.
Yeah, harsh
Pretty much
words.
video. Some serious shots fired there.
Didn't really look up to Peke. I think most mid laners, at least in Europe, have always looked at Peke. Alex, of course, and Frog and back. 3 elite mid laners we had. Peke has still been performing really well. When Origen gets to these late game team fights, that's where we normally see Peke really step up, except for last week when he got that Varus in the mid lane.
And looking at Origen's composition, we said skirmish, and something that usually goes hand in hand with skirmish is low range. If you look at the likes of Ekko, Lee Sin, all melee, Vayne, very short range, melee range on Alistar, and then arguably large range on Jayce, but once he starts fighting, very low range, and this is not good usually into poke.
Yeah, very, very true. Especially also if you look at the champs from Unicorns. We talked about the Braum earlier. The zone control he can create, making it tough for Origen. Ulti from PowerOfEvil, again, locking multiple targets down the Ryze. So there's so much CC for them. Let's see what happens here. A lot of members around each other at level 1.
Braum is strong though, level 1. That passive can just stun you up.
Got to be careful. You have to be able to respect that Braum too, and we haven't seen it as much. We'll see if Origen are really prepared to deal with that in the early game. After they go fairly deep in this Unicorn's jungle, they decide to back out.
Yeah, okay, so Origen looking for the swap, obviously. You want to swap into that Ryze.
Yep.
Don't want to risk that matchup to go out of hand. So Chachi is going to be down the bottom lane. Let's see how both teams decide to play it out. For now, Unicorns on the top side, but Origen is swapping down anyway. They've seen the members around these 4 wards they placed.
If you take a look at the last time these two teams met, it was back in week number 1. It was a handily lost game for Unicorns. 28 minutes, very quick. This is when Origen were on that big dominant streak.
It was one of those games where Unicorns of Love failed to capitalize in the mid game and fell super far behind. This highlights the problems for Unicorns all split, and also the strong side of Origen is how you can accelerate from early to mid game and then get these leads.
Chachi showed up to that lane early, took a CS. It may have influenced the wave to push back. However, I doubt we'll see an early freeze. But OG initiating the lane swap kind of by starting in standard lanes, as weird as it sounds. This allows Amazing to start solo on the weak side. And later up, or duo on the weak side rather, and later up they want to look for the dive on the Ryze. They want to keep him down. Number 1 priority target for Origen right now is keeping that Ryze down.
Which is why Unicorns of Love, they need to send the Ryze to the top lane and just take the 4v0 up there. And when they kill the tower, leave Ryze to have the wave bounce back to him, so he's up there, he gets a bit of extra farm, while we're gonna have to see Soaz then either get the wave in the bottom lane once tower dives, or he has to get in this annoying situation where he needs to swap back to top lane, wave is pushing away from him, and that's how Ryze gets a decent lane swap at least.
I almost feel like it would be a waste for Origen to commit to the early dragon, even
yeah, I agree.
If it seems kind of free to pick up. We saw this earlier in the first game of today, that dragon, it can be an experienced sync, and you really want to keep your top laner in the game because that Ryze will be crucial.
It's simply not worth it to take these early dragons here. You fall too far behind in XP.
especially when they can push in more turret than one. We've already seen that happen earlier today. As it stands, we'll take a look at comparing these two mid laners too. PowerOfEvil, he's got a bigger kill share, but the reason for that is what you guys have already said. Peke is the guy on his team that's not needed to carry, and Power pretty much has had to do the whole thing.
Peke is the guy who's not needed to carry in the early to mid game. He's the guy for late game, but Origen had so many one-sided games in the start of the split that we never really got to see Peke do a whole lot, but he has showed up when needed. And as I mentioned earlier, his Varus game, that's why he was strong in the early to mid game as well, and he was a big carry for Origen. Now Soaz is gonna stay, bounce the wave, and just stay bot lane here for now.
Yeah, and look at the Dragon still alive. Origen realizing what they need to do in the race to keep their top laner farther ahead. They finish the tower first, bounce it first, then they move to the top lane. Vayne and Alistar, they can stay alive, they can stay even, and this is good. Get the momentum in the lane swap.
Yeah, a key thing here is how fast you take down that tower, because if this means your dual lane can return to the lane against the top lane faster, you can push it down and you might set up a TP play for yourself and dive them.
I want to see them take a page out of Fnatic's book where Soaz pushes in the bot lane, roams to mid, sends Peke up top, and then go for a 4-man dive, possibly whoever defends that big wave they're building.
Exactly, that's again with the thing here with Origen being faster. They can now push the wave, look down bottom lane here. Corki is going to return very late, so there's no pressure on Soaz right now if he wants to make a play. But you also see Xpeke saying, okay, I'm not going to stay in the lane, I'm going to go back, get that early tier. And look who's joining him on the way top. Hylissang is with him, so they are predicting there's a good chance of a dive on him with Soaz TP and just send the support instantly.
It is all about getting Xpeke to a point where he can carry. He's gone back on a champion like this Ryze. We've seen him play so many tanks. Now the Unicorns are leaving it out for him. The issue is, will they get a chance to get him to a powerful point before Origen, their late game, gets out of control?
Now the worrisome thing for Origen is that UOL will be fine settling for a slightly under-leveled Ryze as long as he's kept alive and he's kept into the game now that he got his tier. At the same time, Corki is one of the best 1v1 laners when it comes to lane swap shenanigans because he scales so well with levels, he spikes at level 6, he has a gap closer, and he has ranged autos against the melee ranged Ekko. Yes, Ekko is nimble and swift, but he'll still get bullied out.
I think Origen, though, is going to be happy keeping Ekko in the side lane because it's going to be so much about this 1-3-1 setup, so you need a stronger top lane so you can win the one-on-one duel. Obviously, Ekko needs 1 to 2 items before he really becomes powerful. So yes, Vardags is going to be stronger from this, but Soaz is getting a one-on-one lane. Xpeke is sharing XP, obviously. Mithy might look for something in here.
He goes in with the combo. Xpeke is the one who's condemned backwards. He's still a little bit squishy to start things off. Amazing coming up, and if they stay under tower, Unicorns will be in trouble.
But something Origen consistently do when they initiate a lane swap is push the mid lane. Peke in the last few games has always had the pressure, and this facilitates it so much for Amazing to walk around and move in aggressively because he can always strike with the backup of his lanes.
He's found Kikis right now, who's taking some damage from the Braum, has to back off. He'll help him finish that one off, but just so annoying to have to deal with.
I really disagree with Kikis here starting his Braum. He knows Origen has so many members on the top side of the map at the moment, and he starts it, he drops low from it. Suddenly, Mithy can now start roaming, and you have a small advantage. It's a small thing, obviously, but all these things together could open up a play for Origen.
At the same time, though, Kikis can't afford to go to the bot lane. Soaz is playing safe, and he has to hover around top, else a dive may happen.
May indeed. Preemptive flash from Niels to try to avoid proc of the Winter's Bite.
But most importantly, they dodge the Q flash from Braum, and that is with one engage tool where he wants to surprise you, Q flash in, slowly you get a second stack, and then have somebody else follow up and then stun you. So that's out now for 5 minutes. Hylissang will have a very hard time engaging.
And Unicorns in Love now have at least bought some time for Xpeke. It was fun to see how both teams were setting up for multiple plays. Unicorns ready to counter it. We saw the support follow, even Kikis joined that top lane instantly to stop the potential dive. Soaz is still getting solo XP in his bottom lane. I don't think Vardags is going to be able to do a whole lot to his tower either, as we can see here. They're just sitting and farming a little bit back and forth for now.
Well, the game has been a little top heavy. You do definitely see Soaz able to stay relevant, Origen in a happy spot. You see that big vote for them right now in favor, despite the Unicorns fan base. OG still holds the fans' hearts for this one.
You have to remember though, as we're approaching the mid-game, not quite yet, but we will be soon, UOL don't need a fed Ryze. They just don't need him to fall behind too much because they're running a double poke composition. So their main carries in the mid-game are this Varus and this Corki, and 61 CS on Vardags. And I just want to see them use those power spikes. Once the Corki
gonna be the thing.
hit the Triforce, we have some poke on Varus, group up on the mid lane. And there is relatively low wave clear. You touched on this before. They have okay conditional wave clear on the fact that the Jayce can, find an angle on the minion wave.
Yeah, but that's a tricky thing for him if he's not there. And that also means if he's using his shock blast on the minion wave. There's no pressure on dealing damage to Unicorns of Love, and they're gonna focus more on trying to, of course, instant wave clear with Varus, and then he can focus on hitting champion. Double tier, obviously being picked up for Unicorns of Love, Varus and Ryze, so that is where they're gonna be a little bit weaker. We always talk about this here, Varus needs a little bit of time for himself, but we're still talking 15-20 minutes for them. Origen instantly saying, you know what, there's no wave towards the farm, start a dragon.
And this is why I traditionally don't like a Ryze, in a sense, with another poke champion, because double tier opens up for a very weak early game, but the Unicorns so far have done a good job. They're yielding their first dragon at 9 minutes, 10 seconds. That's definitely acceptable.
Yeah, it's acceptable for them, but Origen will definitely be happy with it since it was fully uncontested. They haven't really given anything up for it. Have a big wave in bottom that Chachi's looking to soak up. But for now, Niels is there to try and keep him pushed further away. It's going to crash to the tower soon, though.
Both teams going to mirror each other a little bit here. Origen is pushing down towards the bot lane. Only Soaz top. He might be in a very tricky... If Kikis stays top, they can dive him if he's not expecting this one.
Same for Chachi. I would almost reckon it is better for Unicorns to defend Chachi in the bot lane rather than attempt to dive on Soaz.
Well, here's the thing though, you just mentioned yourself how Ryze is not the key member for them.
That is true.
If they can shut down Soaz, maybe get a gold advantage through another tower to snowball yourself towards these 1 or 2 items on Corki and the Varus, as we keep talking about. It excels how fast they can then group and push down, but both teams gonna trade towers. Pek is moving.
Origen tried to fake a dive on the bot lane and try and make for a cheeky play in the mid lane where they hop over Ryze and say, okay, you Unicorns, you expect us to dive bot lane, we go mid. But it was sniffed out by PowerOfEvil. He hovered to the left side. This allows Unicorns to take down the tower first. And a massive wave here, not a wave bounce for Chachi.
They well managed to do it indeed. Mid lane continues to trade some farm back and forth. Top and bot continue to trade towers back and forth. And as a result, it has been all about these objectives. 10 minutes in the game and no first blood.
No, just a lot of focus on towers. And honestly, yeah, no kills, but still a lot of action in the way the teams are trying to mirror each other. And there's so many small plays happening where they're like, if you make a misstep here and leave your Ryze alone, we will kill him early on. But that never happened because both teams were predicting what was about to happen on the map.
Yeah, for me, this was a very enjoyable early game.
Look at mid, though.
Exactly played like it should. And here we go.
Flashing over, Mithy, amazing. They found PowerOfEvil. Shock blast, not connecting, but they don't need it. And just like that, 3-on-1, and that's first blood to Origen.
Such a nice little roam here from Origen. They had already pushed the bottom lane, obviously, so they were in the jungle. No flash from PowerOfEvil was used earlier. First blood, that is very key. We keep talking about how Origen wants to make sure they're far enough ahead that they can set up these 1-3-1s or even just start fights. Once you get Talisman on the Alistar and so on, that Unicorns never get to sit and poke.
At the same time, the Origen can't capitalize with an objective from that kill. And usually if you can take that mid tower down quickly, that opens up the map. They just get a minor gold advantage here, and the composition is still aiming for that spike. Couple more minutes, 14-15 minute mark is when we're going to see that Triforce come out from the Corki. That's when they want to group, that's when they want to siege, and they want to hit xPeke.
And with these 2 towers down, obviously gonna hit even harder. Might even be a little bit earlier for Vardags. Still want to have that Vow shining. No cooldown reduction early on for PowerOfEvil. It's coming obviously later on.
Soaz level 8, Chachi level 7. Vardags level 8, Niels level 7. Traded experience advantages due to the lane swap.
Did indeed. Now Vardags gets caught up with Pulverize, but Hylissang is there. He's got his unbreakable. Niels and Mithy cannot 2v2 him right now, and the game has settled just a little bit after that bit of action in the mid.
Yeah, after level 6, Corki is still one of the strongest AD carries, so difficult for Niels to trade with him at the moment. He has the Alistar heal though to back him up, but Unicorns, they're saying we have bot lane pressure, we will invade on the bot lane with our jungler, and this is very key if he gets this blue buff away from Pek.
He did get spotted as the Wolves. Oh, smitten by Amazing.
It's amazing.
Gets it. Varus ulti was used to stop xPeke. That engage tool was out. Teleport on the bot lane.
Chachi, they're looking for Mithy right now. Now they should turn their attention to Niels. As he's in the final hour, he's able to limp away, but Mithy with Unbreakable will on. They keep changing their minds, changing their targets. Soaz has to chrono break back. No one from Origen goes down, but not over yet. Kikis takes a shock blast to the face. Still battered and bruised. No one's down yet.
I really like what Unicorns are doing here. We just talked about how strong the Corki pick is after level 6. Niels can't really do a whole lot against him, so they keep playing around the strong lane. Nice shock blast here, but it's all starting with the invade on blue buff. You steal it from Kikis, then you instantly make a play on the bot lane. Nice little jump here to interrupt the kick. Oh, big flash!
It's the kickback, and Kikis is slammed by Peke, picking up his second kill of the game.
Yeah, Unicorns doing the right thing by forcing a group on that bottom tower, but then once Origen is in position to wave clear and poke, they kind of misuse their abilities. The Braum shield comes up too late, and then the flying from Kikis was unwarranted. Maybe Unicorn should have rotated to mid, group there, and then start knocking on that tower.
Well, if you consider the fact that Unicorns were already in a position to just hit the tower, you had Varus and Corki lined up, you had Origen saying either we try and hit you from the side or we can't really defend the tower. They could honestly just taken this bot lane tower, poked it down at least. No need to try and flank around.
Then Hylissang needs to block those shockwaves on the wave. He needs to predict that xPeke is not going to aim for champions, but for the minions, you block that shock, then you can hit those towers, because Peke is still in a position to wave clear right now.
But we can just see how Unicorns, they're still staying. So they're like, they had the plan, we're like, we're just gonna stay bot lane, we have triple range, they have very little wave clear on the side of Origen, so we just need to sit here. Obviously Kikis dying, set them back a little bit, but this bot lane tower is dropping very low. Soaz going in.
Yes, he is. They found Vizicsacsi, one of the Squisher members. Will
they got him.
Taking some damage too, with the tower's assist. They managed to pick it up. It is Mithy who gets the kill.
Unicorn so greedy, they saw the parallel convergence and they still got caught with their pants down. Good play by Origen.
We've seen this time and time again for Unicorns in the summer split. It's the small individual mistakes that ends up hurting them. It's not done yet in the bottom lane though.
No, it is not.
Nice headbutt.
Knocks up Hylissang. Soaz takes a bat to his head. But it's
great ulti.
2v3. I don't think they can win it. Soaz is down thanks to the combo of Unicorns. Meanwhile, Niels though looks to finish off a tower up top.
Origen realizing they're not going to be able to defend this bot lane tower forever, so going to try and trade it instead and keep this 3 or 2 towers for 2 and just keep it even. PowerOfEvil though is taking a lot of damage.
Shock Blast knocks into the hammer, heals. Peke still on him, Chains of Corruption lands. He's going to cleanse it and walk away just barely. In comes Amazing though to mop that one up. What a janitor.
Origen is now 3,000 gold ahead, and we talked about this in the pre-game. We said Origen, they're running a skirmish composition. They need to snowball the early game. They want to avoid this double poke power spike. And so far, mission complete.
Mission complete indeed. Let's take a look at where we are in this game. Just past 15 minutes on the clock. Origen have themselves a small gold lead on top of the dragon, a little tower advantage. The kills are definitely helping out. And they are staying very relevant in this farm game. So everything going according to plan. The Unicorns still making some mistakes, but still trying to make plays.
And this is the weakness of double tier composition. Need to somehow stay in this game, get those tiers stacked. Because they're still down an acceptable margin. 3,000 gold is a lot, but into double tier, don't get too ahead of yourself if you're Origen, because while you have good late game damage on the likes of Jayce and Vayne, when it all comes together for the Unicorns, their poke and siege is going to be so destructive, especially when Hylissang can destroy these projectiles. He can just soak them up with his shield. But how experienced is he at Braum?
Well, it was one of the champions he used in the spring split whenever Morgana and so on were banned away from it. We saw so often banned this game as well. Unicorns, they're back in the bottom lane. Again, it's the same setup. They know the wave play is lacking from Origen, so by keep grouping, they keep poking them in. There's no cross-map objective. Look at the bot lane here. I think it slowly is pushing for the Unicorns of Love towards the base of Origen. So there's nothing for them to fear elsewhere on the map. And they should be able to get this bottom tower unless Origen can engage.
Yeah, those shock blasts definitely starting to hurt here. Tower being worn away, but Origen still holding the line.
Yeah, Hylissang needs to start eating those projectiles.
Mistime roam from PowerOfEvil here. The wave are just being killed from Origen, so he's now roaming down, but there's no wave to catch it. That buys a lot of time for Soaz in the mid lane. He should have stayed, killed one more wave, and then timed it with the next minion wave coming for Unicorns in the bot lane.
With that, Soaz is going to be able to take down this tower unopposed,
free tower.
Uncontested. Absolutely free for them, and Origen will grab even more of an edge in that lead. They still got plenty of time to deal with this top. The shock blasts keep on coming. Unicorns are not getting anything done for this investment down bottom.
And honestly, while Amazing didn't really get involved in that play all too much, he was zoning PowerOfEvil from stepping back into his own jungle, back to his mid lane. This facilitated the push. And meanwhile, in the bot lane, Unicorns, they have to learn that they can't siege a wave or siege a tower where xPeke is present. They need to rotate away from him. He's the only wave clear from Origen right now. And they keep grouping up on him.
That is, and if Soaz is allowed to sit at a tower, he has good wave clear himself. Once you get that Morel Nomicon, you start killing the caster minions instantly with your Q. I believe so, even after the changes where he lost a little bit of the AP ratio. But he was left on his own. PowerOfEvil mistimed his roam, then he got caught out, couldn't go back. Again, Origen, they keep wave clearing. There's a nice engage.
They found Peke this time. Teleport's coming in. He's going to actually flash away. Didn't have cleanse up right and available. A pair of teleports now as Chachi comes in. Origen still running away. Peke still landing the shock blast. This might be one of the longest sieges I've seen. And still they're unable to take the tower, but they got Soaz. Down he goes, courtesy of Vardags.
We've seen this combo before, the Ryze snare and then into multiple missiles and arrows just flying into the face of one target. Does get Unicorns a kill, but yeah, this A-Ram down the bottom lane has been going on for quite a while. The tower is still standing, but not for long.
And Unicorns playing target practice once the snare comes out from Chachi. I feel like Origen overstepped their boundaries. They could have kept cleaning, but they tried to just get some damage out, but then good ultimate from PowerOfEvil. So many times we see that Varus ulti go wide, but he connected it, and it just shows if you take down the main wave clear when his cleanse is down, that's enough to find that opening.
Managed to nearly pick him off as well, and of course with all those plays here, Origen finally lose that tower. They are still, however, maintaining a lead in this game.
Yeah, with that bottom tier 1 tower down, it opens up the possibility for the Unicorns to aggressively invade the Wolves from Origen and start rotating between these lanes.
We didn't get to see any of the teams really invest heavily into deep wards after this, or all of Unicorns went back to base. And Origen, because they were caught fighting there as well, couldn't like try and trade it for something else on the map when the tower went down. So that means for now, everyone is fairly blind towards the enemy jungle, only one ward for them. And that's very important when you play these poke compositions here. You need wards on your flanks, because that's also the way for Origen to potentially start a fight, talisman, and then flank in with someone like Soaz and Amazing to kick someone back.
We're hitting the 20-minute mark in this game. It's been rather exciting, even though we're only 2 kills to 4, and this is the stage of the game where the jungle support synergy will shine through. How well can they move into this open-up map and get some deep vision?
And there is definitely a lot of CC, a lot of knock-around that both supports and junglers have if they can combo these things up. Remember, too, what these two teams are fighting for. Origen, they're sitting pretty right now. They're 8-2, back in 2nd place with H2K's 0-2 week. But for the Unicorns, every game is becoming a must-win as they're sitting in lower on the standings.
Yeah, obviously aiming for that playoff. They have so many championship points, 70 picked up in the last split. Want to try and secure a spot at Worlds. That's what all these teams are playing for. Origen needs so many points though, because they got 0 from being a challenger team.
Yeah, and Hylissang is finally finding his groove here. Blocked a couple of the shock blasts from xPeke, sidestepping the other. So with single poke, you need a lot of repetitive hits to make it work. Unlike the double poke composition that UOL is running, because both Varus and Corki can dish out multiple rockets and arrows, but for Origen it's all around xPeke. And with that, you look at how Hylissang is putting a shield up every time. Peke is trying to go
Finally,
next to
though, Origen is moving around the flank. There's a freeze in the bot lane, no TP, so they can go in.
They can indeed. Amazing gets the kick off on a PowerOfEvil. He's chunked, but not low enough. The heal comes out. Parallel convergence. It's not going to catch anyone but Kikis as Soaz goes in. Niels trying to finish this one off, but they can't find enough damage on a single target. Shock blast just out of range of Kikis. And they're not done yet.
Origen were dancing around the mid lane a little bit here with both Soaz and Amazing. There was no TP for Soaz, so he didn't really want to go and commit to split pushing. It was only the top wave pushing in for him. So instead, they finally find a way around the Unicorns of Love, take the fight, flash down for PowerOfEvil. It's going to be very important the next few minutes.
Still very greedy play by the Unicorns, though. They're freezing bot lane, that's greedy. They saw Amazing flank, and PowerOfEvil could have flashed to reposition himself and get kicked out of the fight, but he held on to it for some reason. Too slow on the trigger. Not a good shield by Hylissang right there. Even if the Shock Blast would connect, he would block it. Yeah, even though they greeted a little bit,
Lost control,
didn't get punished yet, but it looks like they will now.
They may indeed lose this next dragon. 22 minutes is the time on the clock. Origen looking to try and stack these ones up well. The rest of the Unicorns are away. Let's see if they can maybe attempt something miraculous here. Nope, not quite. It's smited out by Amazing.
And I want to highlight how important these dragons can be in this game here, because it's one of the ways you can try and force a poke comp into a big team fight. If suddenly they're forced to go in like and stop a 4th dragon or 5th dragon from Origen. At the same time as well, poke comps benefit very much from the different buffs they get. Obviously tower damage, the movement speed coming around. So by Origen getting these early on, it gives another wave for them to then play towards that late game. And they all started with that flank.
Yeah, and in turn, however, the 1 dragon that Unicorns managed to collect, this gives them the damage bonus on both AD and AP with a triple threat composition. That's all they need until Origen get that massive 5th dragon. So they're definitely happy, plus it slows down that 5th dragon as well. So we're probably going to see this game slow down a little bit and become more prevalent around vision control around Baron.
And also because Unicorns right now, they really want to group. They really want to say, okay, now we start sieging up. Problem is, either they have Vizicsacsi freezing, or their wave is pushing against them, so they don't feel like they can ever do it, where Origen is in a position where they have to spread out themselves and defend multiple waves. Once again, Ryze is in the bottom lane, the wave is just hit it, they need to push that one back out.
And this is where I feel the Unicorns, they understand the game to some extent, but they're playing two different things. Usually when you play with a Ryze, you play for late game. But when you play double poke, you play for the mid game. And you need to make a decision, who do you play for more? In my opinion, they should be aggressively pushing their side lanes, manipulate their side lane wave control, and group up with the poke, just like you said, but instead they were opting to get Chachi a little bit too much ahead, in my opinion.
It seems like the Ryze is just here as like insurance. If we do go late game, you have a carry.
Yeah.
At least, even though the rest of the comp doesn't really fit in the same way for them. We've seen also the Rune Prison into like the Rocket or the Arrow landing, so like easy CC, but yeah, I agree 100%. It is kind of weird for them how they really want to use this power spike, but also have to be so careful because they have to respect the fact that this Ryze has to take all this time to farm. Also, Vayne. Nobody's going to stop a late game in the one-on-one. It's going to be so difficult. Ekko as well, so strong one-on-one. As long as Origen get to defend this mid lane tower and just buy time, it's fine for them.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter how much late game insurance Ryze can provide when you've got 3 big carries staring him down. Origen still maintaining this gold lead with Vayne and Alistar trying to push in. Hylissang, Vardags, and PowerOfEvil are there to respond. Chains of Corruption. Niels, 1v1 might be good, but try taking a 1v3.
Flash, anyone?
Hello.
Yeah, you should have seen that one coming. One of the most telegraphed Varus ultis. PowerOfEvil lands another one, but really played by Niels. Should have flashed way earlier, and then at the end, expended it still. But this is the mark that your poke composition has failed a little bit in the mid game, is that this mid lane tower is still alive 25 minutes into the game. This usually means that you've made some sort of mistake.
Now though that you just killed the Vayne, you don't have to worry about your side lanes. You can finally group and start poking. Let's see where Peke focuses his shock blast. If he goes for the minions, you want to try and hit the tanks here. Flank is set up. There's no ward from Unicorns down here. They're going in from Origen.
So Mithy gets a massive knock-up. They knock Hilly into tower. It's still tanking the line as he takes down Soaz. You can't take a 5v4, and Origen finds that out. Losing Soaz, losing Mithy after what looked like a brilliant setup.
Yeah, it was a good flank setup. You see the pink ward down here in the bush towards the bottom side. So Origen could get the engage. Again, 4 members, you said it yourself, no ulti used from Soaz. He's built to split push with the Lich Bane second into a team fight, didn't get to use Hourglass, didn't get to ulti back, just got CC'd down, ends up dying.
Let's watch that again. Chachi flashes in, so this pumps the 4-man combo from Mithy into the Parallel Convergence stun, but then suddenly there's no more damage, really. I think a Shock Blast doesn't connect, and as this game progresses, I'm starting to really like this Braum pick in poke compositions, because you can jump to a target
Niels,
that's under pressure.
the guy who died.
And then you can proc the Q and just have that beautiful disengage. In addition, he's so good against these single poke compositions, because it's so obvious where the poke's gonna go at the wave. And then Hylissang, he's been putting up that shield better and better as this game progresses. So
Exactly.
I'm a fan.
He's forcing the attention of Origen too. You saw in that fight that he was the one that they actually focused out the first. So you got to wonder if that was a missed call or just Hylissang getting in the faces of Origen.
That's the thing though for Unicorns, there's so many ways for them to lock down multiple targets. We talked about the Varus ulti earlier, also against these members who have to like dive in the Ekko, the Lee Sin. Obviously Ekko is going to try and jump back to his shadow, but that's where Varus ulti is going to be so useful.
You see on your screen right now, this is about that time that both these teams start thinking about the Baron. We'll see if they start moving that way themselves. For now, it's really been all about the lanes, and Amazing goes deep on the connection with his Q, but he has able to back out. No other pressure there.
And you see, every time he connects the Q on Kikis, Kikis wants to interrupt the follow-up with his own knock-up. UOL awarding their flanks, and whereas earlier we were saying how they were 3,000 gold behind, but it wasn't too much. Look at the gold right now. Completely even.
Origen as well has no business grouping 5 members mid. No. Against the amount of wave clear from Unicorns of Love, that should never result in anything, but they're waiting obviously for the lanes. They're waiting for Unicorns to go out and clear out these waves here and then maybe open up, but there's a TP for Chachi, so you can slowly just take the first wave, then even go back, take the next one, and nothing should really happen for it. Obviously Origen, the reason they're also here is because Dragon is about to spawn, and they really want to keep securing these dragons.
Yeah, Peke finished his Muramana. PowerOfEvil is about 100 off, and look at Hylissang. The first projectile that connects, or the first damage instance that connects with a Braum, when his Unbreakable is up, gets reduced to 0. The projectile then gets placed in the middle of Braum, if he still applies. He's doing such a phenomenal job at blocking these projectiles.
I really like the cooldown reduction build from him as well, just to have that as often as possible, because again, you keep talking about it. His job is just to deny Peke.
Let's see if they can deny this dragon. It would be number 3 for Origen. Unicorns moving in position, but is it too late? It looks like it is. It's going down. The final lever is on. Kikis goes in, gets the knockup, but now the rest of Unicorns are getting cold feet. They're looking to back off as Niels right in the front. Final hour tumbles away from the chains of corruption, and Amazing lands the Sonic
can he
Wave.
go in?
Is he going to? The durations run out, and that will be Origen picking up that dragon.
Amazing wanted to go in for the kick flash. He was waiting for energy, but then he saw what Kikis was doing. Kikis is always burrowed around his team and posturing to prevent these flanks. He wants to knock up Lee Sin. Once he activates that resonating spell the second time.
All he does is just spamming the A click there, and then he would get that auto attack and obviously knock him up from it. But everything about this play here from Unicorns of Love was just so slow, honestly. Origen was staying around mid lane because they were waiting for this dragon to spawn, and then forced this poke come in to try into potential team fight. They reacted so late, ended up using teleport as well for nothing. Really dislike everything around that play.
I don't like this.
And really well played from Origen by getting the dragon. Now this can be risky. They're caught in around this Baron. They're taking a lot of damage from it.
They can just rotate mid right now.
Looks like they have to head up top actually pretty soon. They're going to go back in a little bit.
Unicorns are one mid.
Strange movement for Origen. Unicorns, if they can stop the backs here, they may be able to get an objective out of this.
He missed it.
Kikis can't connect the Prey Seeker.
Yeah, look at top lane. Top wave is big. We have double poke with a minion wave. Uncontested grouping up in the mid lane. Luckily for Origen, this was the Baron, but starting that Baron, I don't know what they were thinking with that. They're going to just sacrifice this tower for absolutely nothing.
The price they paid for taking so long about the mid lane, waiting to get to the dragon and not pushing out the side waves, then the Baron attempt. As a result, they give up a tower. Unicorns actually now hold that in the lead, and as you mentioned, the gold's still close to even, but that pushes UOL over the edge.
It's been a game here where both teams, they like make one good move and then they make a misplay, which gives then small advantage to the other team, and they keep like trading back and forth here. Unicorns wasted teleport almost by trying to stop that dragon way too late. Gave Origen another dragon for it, but then Origen says, okay, we're gonna start this Baron, and it gave Unicorns a mid tower. So both teams are constantly trying to like force plays on each other and then punish the team who might be slightly too slow or making the wrong decision in the moment. So like they're both like trading back and forth, and both obviously.
Seems like a case of tunnel vision, both these teams. Everyone's got a job on UOL, but sometimes they get too fixated on that. For Origen, they're just focused on trying to do too many things.
Now we're well past our Triforce power spike, obviously, since we're 30 minutes into the game, but Unicorns of Love have finished both their tiers. Ryze is scaling pretty well. Jayce poke is going up, 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 and up. And Origen, they don't have a real tank. Nobody that's itemizing just pure armor. So this poke from, honestly, from PowerOfEvil, and later the damage from Chachi is going to be quite instrumental.
I would honestly also for that reason, because there's no real tank on Origen, also preferred Infinity Edge for Vardags. There's no reason for him to set himself behind in terms of damage, because he's going to be needed later on with the triple threat for himself, and he's going to try and see what he can do, like keeping up with Vayne. He's obviously never going to match the same late game, but Infinity Edge is a lot better there.
Honestly, I can see why you think that, but at the same time, lifesteal against some of the poke and just having another ability to slow your opponents down when they're rushing at you could work.
But that's the thing, when an Ekko jumps you, like it's an instant gap closer anyway, so depending on like how much time will he really get to try and kite back. I mean, yeah, that's obviously why he wants a bit more safety for himself.
Yeah.
I'm just talking purely about the maximum damage output, because Unicorns will reach the point where it's going to be more about just Chachi alone and his damage. And we just saw in the last game what happens if you start like falling behind against like multiple threats in Jayce, Ekko, and Vayne.
That is true. Obviously, this Blade of Ruin King will slightly more useful right now as Infinity Edge scales better. Another Baron attempt by Origen.
We've seen this before. When will they peel? The rest of Unicorns have arrived. The flash, Hylissang throws down the fissure. Mithy might be caught, but he's the biggest member on Origen. Now everyone dancing around. Soaz looking to chase down Vardags. Chachi coming in. Soaz is caught. Soaz is down. Vardags picks him up. Kikis in the middle, running wild, kicked back. Hilly takes some damage, but now Mithy's forced to flash away. Niels tumbles backwards as he had to immediately bail out of that situation. All said and done, a one for none for Unicorns.
Origen with the uncharacteristic, I'm just gonna screw up that word. Origen with a bad Baron. You can pronounce it later for me. Yet again, and this is the second time, and this is not usual for them.
No, really seems like Origen is saying we feel like we have to try and force a fight. Baron is the only thing open for us to do. We can't group 5 and like siege the tower. Instead though, I mean, Unicorns of Love have given you enough time to set up the side lanes. In my opinion, you could have put Ekko in a side lane, you could have put Vayne in the other one and played a 1-3-1 setup, slowly pushed them down, and then always just play it a bit safe. If you see Unicorns group 5 members and you're not in position to take a tower, just obviously disengage away, because there's no quick tower for Unicorns to rush, and they don't really want to rush the Baron themselves at the risk of Origen then getting in and getting this big team fight. So I feel like they could play the side lanes a bit more.
Yeah.
By the same token, Origen, you know, you guys said it earlier that their big wave clear is all on PeKe. They don't really have as good of a way to clear the sideways, and they've been spending so much time fixated, grouping up, waiting for these dragons to spawn. Soaz is down bottom right now. He doesn't have his teleport available, but he's in easy range when this dragon does come up. However, Unicorns are moving in the direction of the Baron.
So because, again, you had to blow that teleport before with this fight going on that didn't go in your favor, now Unicorns can say, if you go and start this dragon with like more than one member, we will just start the Baron instantly. But what Origen can do is have one guy start it. But now,
they may not need to. Amazing! He's gonna get caught, taken down. Niels had a bite out of him as well. Unicorns set it up and bait Origen, hook, line, and sinker. Now it's onto the Baron.
We'll see, I hope Unicorns go for another bait right here. Something I like doing is putting the Corki outside of the Baron, have him miss his rockets on the Baron. Fake as if you're doing it. Origen expecting another bait, however, though. Another block by Hylissang. Good unbreakable.
Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice. Shame on Unicorns. This time they will start the Baron in earnest, however. Half of its health. Origen coming in. Can they stop this one? Shock Blast is huge. In comes Soaz. Can he finish the job? Niels trying to kite around, move around. Mithy. Hylissang's gone down. Niels is the one who picks him up. And all sorts of craziness as Kikis goes down. Soaz dives back in. This time, however, he's going to have to flash away from the piercing arrow.
Very, very close fight around this Baron. It's always one of the problems for these poke comps. If they're stuck in there, Origen managed to stop it, at least from going down. Fool me once, shame on you, Pyro. Twice, shame on me.
Let's see what Chachi can get done. PeKe flashes. Oh, he goes into the skies. Not enough. Taken down in the 1v2, and now it's Dragon time for Amazing.
Amazing definitely wants to finish that. Looks like, of course, what about Drake? For some reason, you're not going for the cross-map Baron either. This is a 4th dragon floor.
They can still start it though. They're gonna start the Baron now. Amazing, still fairly healthy, but let's see the rest. PeKe
What's Soaz in this fight? I want to keep my eyes on him.
PeKe is down from another 20 seconds. PowerOfEvil was fairly low on mana, but should have enough at least to spam his arrows and maybe an ulti.
Here we go. Arrow.
There's no smite nearby, remember. Amazing is gone.
In comes Soaz. Can't quite get it. No smite. Usually doesn't win against smite, so Unicorns of Love will pick themselves up a Baron at the cost of Dragon 4 for Origen.
This is very key for Unicorns though. Now they would get a chance to really start grouping up, have these Baron buffed minions, and force Origen to just sit and try and defend. So this Baron buff can be very key for the Unicorns of Love. I really like the way they've been able to honestly punish Origen for not playing the map at all, and then they start a dragon here in the end, and Unicorn's like, okay, we're just gonna rush the Baron. I mean, you have no smite, one guy is dead as well, they could go caught out in the jungle. So Unicorn's playing it a lot more controlled, but we also got to late game where they have been okay this split. It's only early game and mid game they've been struggling.
It's very true, but that's often been the death of them in a lot of these games. When these two teams last met, remember, it was only 28 minutes. We've already gone 8 minutes past that. Unicorns of Love, we've been criticizing them in the previous weeks for some of their performance, but they are controlling well against a top 3 team.
Yeah, let's go back to Champs Like where we talked about skirmish compositions. Skirmish compositions with only limited amounts of wave clear are incredibly weak against the new Baron buff. And poke comp are so strong because it becomes so easy to land your poke, because these guys, short range, they all have to group up close to the minions to kill them. Otherwise they're gonna lose their tower. And Hylissang gets very easy unbreakables.
Especially when you only have to really look out for PeKe's Shock Blast. Soaz has to look out for a lot more than that. Oh boy.
Ulti's used though.
Go back to heal. There is no Chain of Corruption. That will be on a relatively low cooldown as the siege commences. Hilly is still frontlining those Shock Blasts like a madman.
I want to see a Banner of Command. I think this is the ultimate counter to this Origen lineup.
If this game goes on long enough, we might just
buff up that siege minion and then place your Braum in.
Do you really need it though? I mean, you already got so much great poke coming in. Soaz, he's looking for that flank.
I just like it. Okay.
Yeah, it's a great item. I love Banner of Command.
Minion is nice and big. That Baron buff is making the Cannon Minion pretty solid. They can't quite touch it at the moment. Origen may have the lead in Dragons, but right now it's their base. They're forced to defend. They haven't been able to control as many waves.
Keep your Cannon Minion alive. Just 4 more years. Eventually that tower will fall.
He gets it. Poor Cannon Minion.
He served well.
Next time. Soaz though, once again, he
there you
ulted
go.
out instantly. He thought probably that he was going to get snared or Hylissang would lock him down. Instant just ulties away. And there's so little Origen can do when they're sitting in their own base. Yes, okay, the base gates give you a small chance to flank, but Unicorns can see everything, and they every time just step away, land a bit more poke. This Baron buff here was so huge for them.
This is why I don't like skirmish comps in the late game once they fall behind.
Managed to get the tier stacked up, and now Origen getting jumped on, getting knocked around. That double kill over to Chachi. The carry is back. 3-1-5 on the Ryze, and Unicorns of Love are looking now to march into Origen's base. 5v3 here. This could be dangerous. This could be rough for Origen.
Yeah, I'm loving this Braum pick more and more. Every time I see him eat one of those skill shots and just block him with Unbreakable, it makes more sense every time I see it, and I'm really loving the innovation here from Hylissang.
Braum is back, gentlemen and ladies. Unicorns of Love definitely controlling this game. However, they have lost control of some minions up top, as you can see right there. That should be, sooner or later, an Origen tower. Nonetheless, they are lacking an inhibitor in the middle. Unicorns of Love have control right now in this game. Nearly 40 minutes on the clock.
Yeah, and Brains over Braum as well. They've been playing so well with a very good macro game here. Whereas before we said Origen has been the smarter team overall, and Unicorns look shaky. They played an immaculate early game, even though they got behind a little bit. I would say immaculate mid game. Early game they did fall behind, but they managed to hold on. They were down 3,000 gold. Yeah, and it doesn't show at all.
It's just the same for both teams, honestly, in that sense. How Origen spikes so hard in that mid game, that's where they get the leads, but they're not always able to play the late game, where our Unicorns have to get to that late game point. The Ryze pick has now gotten to the point as well where he is a massive carry on Chachi's side. So all the time they used on him getting the farm, and the fact that Origen never got to set up a proper split push. In a 1-3-1 setup, they never got to set up that split push.
And Haunting Guys finished at like 40 minutes. He didn't build that from the start. It just shows how little magic resistance there is on Origen's side. He just wants more penetration, more damage.
And doing more and more work. They're on the side of Origen, having some trouble finding the same results. Soaz has just not been nearly as effective this game. He's dove in, he's dove out. But that new Ekko is just not nearly as effective, and let's see if they can maybe turn something around with a teleport on from Vizicsacsi. He's going to land in the parallel convergence, but still Origen cannot go all in at this point. Still dangerous against Unicorns.
And Kikis has been phenomenal with his zone control. Constantly at the side where Origen is looking to flank, he's just hovering. He's not doing anything, he's not engaging, not overreaching. He's just buying time for the Unicorns to poke, to dish out the damage, clear those waves and get to the towers.
Now we get to the point where Origen has a comeback mechanic. It's gonna be Dragon number 5.
Yep.
Spawning in 30 seconds. They've been staying around this bot lane for a while, but you can see Unicorns are doing exactly the same. Saying we're not gonna risk giving up. Nice interrupt on Niels as well from Vardags. Unicorns will have control. As long as they can stop this Dragon here, then they should continue to be in the driving seat. They should go over. They don't even need a Baron, honestly, at this point here to keep pushing in with how far ahead they are. Or can be if they're setting a poke. Sorry, the gold is obviously not that massive. Otherwise, you go back and you start playing on this Baron once again for them. But they need to stop this Dragon. There's also a way for Origen to get back in the game.
They themselves can keep Origen out of this area. They've got them at the moment confined on the other side as they start it off, dodging the shock blast. They've got a couple members on it. Origen have to move fast if they want to keep the Dragon control. They run in with Mithy. Dragon's nearly down, but it looks like they turn their attention over to Chachi and Hylissang. Hilly's gonna drop. Dragon might be on, but Origen are looking straight for these Unicorns right now. Can they get any more? Kikis is low, but not going down. Mithy gets taken out by Vardags. Shock blasts are flying, but no more Unicorns will fall today. One support for one support, but Unicorns on the Dragon.
Yeah, that's the important one. Origen just moved in slightly too late. Don't think that any vision on it. Ends up being killed by Kikis, and Unicorns are happy trading 1-for-1 by stopping Dragon.
Yeah, they just bought themselves 6 minutes of time. Clean up this map, put the pressure. Kikis pushing out xPeke, and now the top lane was pushed in, clean. Bot lane was just cleaned by xPeke. Mid lane is pushed in as well. This gives the time for the Unicorns to move into the enemy jungle, ward up, prepare that Baron.
Origen have only lost 2 games this split. They are in danger of losing another one, but for the Unicorns, this would be a massive victory to them to prove that they do indeed belong in playoff contention. It's been so competitive for those last 3 playoff spots, as everyone is thinking H2K, Fnatic, and Origen will be in it, but nothing's for certain just yet, especially in this game, guys.
Not a fan of the way Unicorns handled that. They went for the easiest bait, the most predictable bait in that brush. They could have just grouped up, forced deep vision, then dewarded, and went for far superior bait. However, still set up that play. They just lost some time. Ooh, starting Baron.
There's no cleanse of flash for Pekka here. It's going to be a very easy target for Unicorns to lock down. But yeah, that was a nice shock blast. Hylissang was not in a position to block it. And again, this is what Origen needs. They need Unicorns to be grouped at a Baron and then engage with this Alistar, popping the Talisman, and then just try and dive in. And don't give Unicorns a chance to like kite back these 2 AD carries.
They lost mid lane control though. They can send Soaz there. This prompts the return start on the Baron. It's the only option for Hylissang. It's a block right now.
Still able to block it off.
Soaz TP.
It's going low. In comes Amazing. Can't quite secure it. Now the fight is on, but the Baroned up Unicorns look to try and push them back. Chains
Niels
go
is
out.
dead.
Flying down. Down goes Niels. Now Amazing. He's going to fall. Perma stunned, it looks like, as PowerOfEvil finds him a Baron and 2 kills for the Unicorns. Oh boy.
Niels with his Rek'Sai cosplay. Too much tunnel vision right there. Just walks into the enemy team and straight up drops. I feel like OG was flustered by the fact that they lost the Baron and didn't know how to proceed afterwards.
And as soon as you get in that close, again, we keep highlighting the Braum CC snare from Ryze. I mean, Ryze late game, so almost have that perma root he used to have before. Just a little bit longer cooldown, but then there's so much CC overall from Unicorns. Now another Baron, that should be all they need to push in.
Let's see if they can indeed do it. They have their sights set on top inhibitor. They will grab it. Origen are paying the price of some of their strange picks here. Another inhib will fall. Unicorns can start to look towards their end game. 2 inhibs down, 45 minutes on the clock. The gold lead, it's gone up to 5. It's really been a lot of back and forth, but not telling that whole story. That Baron buff, Unicorns can continue to do some work.
It's great to see them play around this late game. Not taking any chances, really. The way they were setting up this dragon way in advance. They knew when Origen was moving in the Baron as well at first. Disengage at first, then see, okay, Soaz is pushing mid. We go back to this Baron here and know exactly what to do with it. And then you just have so much late game insurance as well in the likes of Chachi, and obviously also PowerOfEvil is still super strong on this Varus.
Now every time I see the Unicorns play, and they play this well, where they slowly get this gold lead and then they control the game, I think, did they fix their mistakes? Are they finally consistent? And every time I think that, the next game they just straight up lose and they get snowballed on. However, they identify what the meta is, they play around it. They got punished for their weaknesses, but not to the extent where they lost the game. And beautiful mid game from that, honestly, from that 20-25 minute mark. They took control of the game, they used their composition well. Yeah, good game by the Unicorns.
Every time we want to talk about Unicorns being consistent, you're right, they do tend to prove us wrong, because you look at last week, they were 0-2, the week before that, 1-1. They haven't really had a full, awesome 2-0 week since week 2, but nonetheless, at the moment, they're on the cusp of beating out Origen. This is a massive, massive thing for them if they can pull it off. And I think they had a lot of preparation to think about how to deal with Origen and how to fluster and frustrate them. And now Amazing, he might be caught. He gets the kickback on Hilly. Kikis is still on him. Vardags looking for him. Chains are going to land. Mithy, he's a little bit low, being poked out, but he runs straight into PowerOfEvil. Headbutt pulverized, and Power's down. We spoke too soon. Shut down courtesy of Niels. Right back in the base. He's got to be careful. But Amazing was already gone. It is a 1-for-1. Shock blast still flying. Origen still defending.
They got super minions coming as well, but if Origen can just push Unicorns away, it might buy them a little bit more time. Beautiful play from Mithy. Getting PowerOfEvil, he didn't flash away from it. Ends up then dying and going down. So Unicorns again can slow down this a little bit. Double lifesteal though on Vardags, so he's quickly back to full HP just from being in these jungle camps.
I feel like we haven't talked about Vardags enough this game too, because he's definitely not what you would call the most traditional carry. He's not always doing the most damage for his team. However, this game, he's done exactly what he's needed to. 5-0-8 is a fantastic score, but that's not the whole story. He's really just been constantly applying that poke that Origen can't always check into him.
And I feel like he's going for the infamous Randuin's Omen Corki fifth item right here, or 6th item rather, and I honestly don't think it's even that bad. Denies you some poke, slows down attack speed when Vayne's initiate on you, when Jayce gets close to you. Soaz to an extent is auto-attack dependent.
Vardags is already committed to being very defensive in his build. Again, double lifesteal.
But there's enough damage already.
Exactly. So stick to it now because you have so much damage coming from the Ryze, from the Varus, and then just play around that where Origen still want to try and find that AD carry, but it's not really Vardags you're looking for in this case here. It is Chachi, it is PowerOfEvil. And then just sit back with your Blade of the Ruined King and just do as much auto attack damage and poke as you can.
And honestly, as these games usually go long, it kind of doesn't feel like we're 48 minutes in. It's been a very enjoyable game, back and forth a little bit, but not too many screw-ups to really call throws, in my opinion. Good game overall.
It's certainly been a roller coaster. See that gold graph, that definitely was one. But Origen still have to contend with 2 waves of super minions, while a horde of unicorns, what you call it a pack, I'm not really sure, are down on the bottom. Let's call it a herd. Let's go with that.
He's going in.
Got the knock-up, but he's going to be Rune Prison, going to be chained up. And now he unchains himself, courtesy of Unbreakable Will. Hylissang's looking to go in. Vardags, he's going forward, but they forgot about Niels' power. We'll get the kill off. However, will it be enough? Unicorns getting a little bit cold feet here. Now they'll be backing right back in. One last inhibitor to try and keep the base pushing, but Origen holding the line.
It's so hard because Origen have to engage in 2 phases as Soaz gets caught.
Speaking of phases, Soaz is in some trouble. He throws down his ultimate onto Chachi. Won't be enough. Power's gonna pick him up. Kikis not quite down. Hylissang kicked back, but they're not done. The Unicorns tag teaming their way in. The last inhibitor's down. The Nexus turrets are in sight. We're almost 50 minutes in. Can Peke and the rest of Origen hold them off? It doesn't look like it. The last Nexus turret, it's going down. The Nexus is bare, and the power ponies in pink will finish off Origen.
And honestly, for me, Hylissang was the MVP almost of this game. You saw it at the end right there when Niels was about to that final off. He dashed in front, he blocked that projectile, destroyed it, kept his jungler alive. This is one of the many examples where Unbreakable came in. It's a good play overall. I feel like Origen kind of dug themselves a hole that they had to make deep enough to put the Unicorns in eventually, but 3,000 gold wasn't enough.
I just found it's somewhat strange, and obviously we're gonna have to go back and rewatch the game, and how Origen never really managed to commit to this 1-3-1 setup they had built towards with the Ekko, even going Lich Bane second item, Vayne obviously coming in. That was how they wanted to play, but we saw them put a lot of focus on these dragons here and then stay around the mid lane, try and buy a little bit more time. That also allowed Unicorns then to have this Ryze scale up to late game. And then one mistake in a comp like this from Origen, and it's so tough to do anything because once this Baron goes down, you can't defend for it, and that's where Unicorns really started getting far ahead in the game. Just never really enough reaction, in my opinion, from Origen once we got past this mid game.
Yeah, and they played very reactive at the same time. They weren't proactive at all. They weren't moving first, they weren't initiating anything. They got a couple of nice rotations and picks with amazing controlling the early game and the tempo, but then Lee Sin needs more than that to be efficient. So far, I haven't been amazed by any Lee Sins except for maybe Jankos. One game kind of worked out, and the early game Rek'Sai doing wonders for Kikis. Good zone control, consistent in his performance. Where Kikis usually was back in the day or in the past was kind of a wild card, question mark, TF jungle, Shaco hovers. He's now very consistent, I feel, for the Unicorns. It allows, together with Hylissang, them to build on a foundation and slowly start building up. There's still some plays where I feel PowerOfEvil could have flashed a little earlier, or
for both teams, honestly.
Some timings where they could have grouped up and played to their strengths, but overall, Unicorns look better.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is one of those games that makes you think, is the magic back? Is the razzle-dazzle still here?
Too early.
It's definitely early, but I have to say, I mean, this is a fantastic win over a team that has only dropped 2 so far, now 3. But also some very uncharacteristic mistakes from them. And I don't know how much maybe the Ekko nerfs had a little bit to do with it, just because he couldn't dive in and get insta-gib somebody. But Soaz, I would say, definitely wasn't able to get as much done this game.